Rise and shine, USL fans. It's 10:30 a.m. local time, and we're just about ready for a little Western Conference clash as RGV hosts Reno 1868 FC in what should be a terrific matchup between two sides who are coming off wins in their previous game. Hello, everybody. Tyler Terrens, along with former Virginia Tech Hokie Morgan Conklin. And Morgan, RGV has looked very sound offensively in the past few games. 6 goals in their last 3. However, they have not been able to get the results that they've been looking for, just 1 and 2 in those 3 games.
They had trouble closing games out. They just got their first shutout against Orange County the other day. It was a good performance from them, but on the offensive end, 6 goals in 3 matches, that's strong. They're creating chances. They're able to put the ball away, but like you said, they have to tighten up defensively and be able to close these games out if they want to get positive results.
2 goals in their last 3 games. It was a 2-0 result against Orange County in their most recent affair. And for both of these sides, Morgan, they've been looking strong offensively, but again, it's defensive struggles for both of them that have really nipped them in the rear end in the early going of this 2018 season. Reno able to get their first 2 wins after tripping up in their first 4 games, and a big part of their early success is due to a rookie who was drafted 30th overall by the San Jose Earthquakes, came to Reno, and has really been strong in the early going.
It's tough to make your mark as a rookie, but especially when you're expected to step in and replace the USL's all-time leading goal scorer in Dane Kelly and what he brought to this Reno team last year. But Mazovsky so far, 5 games, 3 goals. He's done a good job and had a solid campaign, been able to finish, but he's still having to adjust to the professional game and getting used to just different aspects of being a professional.
Well, somebody who certainly is all too familiar with being a professional is Captain Toro this year so far, Todd Wharton. He needs no introduction, really an important role in the middle of the field for this Jerson Echeverry side.
Important is an understatement. He is the engine of this team. 2 goals, 1 assist, is atop the categories and pretty much all across the board for this team. But I think what's the most impressive part is that he leads this team in passes, and he's doing it at an 86% rate. So he is connecting most of his passes. He's the engine. He's going to spray the ball around, but when they need a goal, he'll be able to step up and finish.
Todd Wharton, a former Virginia Cavalier, national champion, and has also been named to the USL Team of the Week for the 2nd time this season. RGV looking to make it 2 wins in a row after an impressive result against Orange County. Reno 1868 looking to make it 3 wins in a row. It's all coming your way next on this early morning USL edition. Almost ready for kickoff here at H-E-B Park in beautiful Edinburgh, Texas, as the Toros getting ready to square off against Reno 1868 in what is a makeup game. Original slot for this game was actually March 28th. Travel troubles for Reno, and we got pushed to a 10:30 a.m. kickoff right here on May the 2nd. Morgan Conklin will take a look at Reno's starting 11. And this is a side that's won their last 2 games and really not much of a difference in their starting 11 here.
And they found some success. Look at this midfield. You have Felipe Fernandez, who just helps control the middle. Antoine Hopino on that right side. He didn't get as much talk from last year just based on the other players that they have, but he is such a creator. Lindo Mfeka, Kasipli, they will look to push forward, and the Mazovsky up top.
And then on the other side for Jerson Echeverry, this RGV side, who are coming off of their first 3 points of 2018. Quintanilla and Zach Wright up top. Todd Wharton running the middle of the park.
Look at the back line. I was really impressed with Kyle Adams last game on that left flank. He was a hard defender, got into tackles, did a good job. But then up top, you see Quintanilla back in the lineup, scored in their game against Orange County. He subbed in, made a difference. He was a spark coming off the bench, and he earned a start today.
Eric Bird also getting the start for RGV. He had a number of goals and assists for RGV last season, who are obviously under new tutelage in 2018. Jerson Echeverry, the 46-year-old from Patterson, New Jersey, who was the longtime coach of Seton Hall University from 2012 to 2017. Also played for the Pirates back in the day, was an All-American. And RGV looking to make it 2 in a row. This is a side that 2 years ago, Morgan, was able to get to the postseason, fell to OKC Energy FC, missed out on the playoffs a year ago, coming in 11th place, had 9 wins under Junior Gonzalez, who's now an assistant with the LA Galaxy. But this is an RGV side. I think that their results so far are a little bit misleading. They are a good side. They had some good mix of young talent as well as old. And they're going up against an Ian Russell side who struggled out of the gate as well, but have 2 wins under their belt in their last 2 games.
And I think this is the part of the season where you're pretty much done with the early part. I mean, you're past the first couple of games, and this is when teams really start to gel and find their way together. RGV has players going in and out at times, but I think this is when they really can get a run and just establish a tempo and just continue to move forward.
Well, officially underway from HEB Park, Tyler Terrence, along with 4-time NCAA participant and College Cup participant Morgan Conklin, as it is Kids Day here at HEB. 10:30 a.m. local time kickoff. What should be a terrific matchup. 2 sides that have been really clicking offensively. Reno needs no introduction as far as the attacking side of the sport is concerned. Breaking the record for goals in a season in the USL a year ago. 75 goals in 2017 for Ian Russell's side. Obviously with the help of Dane Kelly, the Golden Boot winner a year ago. Chris Wehan, Antoine Hopino, Lindo Mfeka. A number of those players still on the roster, but as we talked about during the pregame, Morgan, it's not maybe necessarily trying to fill the role of Dane Kelly, but just finding some players who can provide something different going forward.
And it's hard to fill that role. It's almost an impossible task. But like you said, this is a different team. Yes, there are a lot of returners, but this is a different team this year. And it's, like you said, how does a team come together? And then who steps up? And when a goal is needed, who puts it away?
Eric Bird able to draw the foul in the middle of the park.
Tyler, something I want to keep an eye on is this is an early game for both teams, but for Reno, they had to travel. They're playing in hot conditions. It's windy. In their body, it's 8:30 a.m. They probably haven't played this early since their club years. So think way back that far. So this is a difficult game for them, and the start is really important, especially for Reno, just being that their bodies are trying to adjust to playing a professional game at 8:30 in the morning.
Well, for RGV, it's 3 straight Wednesday affairs. They didn't have a game over the weekend, so obviously a little bit fresher than this Reno side, but you and I have had the conversation a number of times that it's sort of pick your poison, because for Reno, they're in a rhythm. They're playing this midweek game, and while there's a little bit of rotation and fatigue involved, RGV has had the week off, and sometimes the edge goes to the side who played more recently, and sometimes it falls in favor of the side who has more rest.
And I think that also goes just how you want to approach the turnaround. Often, if a team loses and then has a quick turnaround and plays again, that's a positive because they can put the last game behind them and then move forward. But sometimes if a team has extra rest, then that's more training. And usually over the course of the season, teams don't get a lot of time to train and get coaching together just because of how the schedule works out. So like you said, you can look at it from either way. But no matter what, if you're on a quick turnaround, that's just less rest that your body has, no matter which way you look at it.
Although Quintanilla dispossessed as he was trying to turn the corner. It's Reno side coming off of wins against OKC Energy FC and T2. Game against Steve Cook's side 2-0 finish. Partida had an all-world goal, and Lino Mafeka came on and made a big impact, scoring the insurance goal in a game in which Miguel Gonzalez was shown a straight red for violent conduct. And Reno unable to take advantage of the situation that was granted to them. A couple of tough results for this Reno side in the early going as RGV, decent opportunity here as the shot flies over the bar from Matias Zaldivar, who served a 1-game suspension for receiving a red card of his own a couple of games ago, but back out onto the field and trying to make an early impact.
RGV was able to win that ball because they squeezed together as a team. So they were able to squeeze the space. There was no room for Reno on the ball. They picked it off and then went in transition. But when they go in transition, the decision-making needs to be a little bit better. If they can build up there and get closer to goal, first off, you have Eric Bird, you had another runner getting in the box. Look for those passes because settling for a shot isn't needed because there's other options.
Well, Gerson Echeverri did say that his side is still trying to figure out exactly what their identity is. A number of turnovers from the 2017 as far as personnel is concerned, and then obviously having to adjust to the new style of the new coaching staff that was brought in. But he said that he's had a great time just getting to know the guys over the course of preseason and the early stages of 2018. And he said that it's been a lot of fun and obviously very different from the collegiate head coaching role that he held with Seton Hall for so many years. But it seems like he's a guy who just takes it in stride and pretty easygoing guy from our conversations with him so far, and just great addition to the United Soccer League and obviously to the RGV community. Here's Mafeka. Good entry ball in. Kiffy unable to get his first touch right. Good work from RGV to play out of the back. Here's Adams on the move. And a good step on that far side from Brent Richards, who looked mighty impressive in their win against OKC Energy FC, just flying up and down that right flank. Was able to create a number of opportunities for Reno. Probably felt that they should have scored a few more against the 10-sided OKC Energy FC. And it's going to be a foul in favor of the home side. And it was Zach Carroll. Just a little bit too handsy in his defensive efforts.
Quintanilla does a good job of getting up. Even though the first one should have been called, he gets up and continues going after the ball. And then when he was taken down again, that was definitely going to be a foul. But Quintanilla is really active. He's a little bit bigger in terms of his frame, and he uses his body really well. But he likes to get the ball in space, and he'll work hard to get on the other end of it.
2 goals for Quintanilla so far this season. One in their loss to Colorado Springs Switchbacks, and another one in their most recent affair against Orange County, in which they prevailed 2-0 for their first 3 points. Now here's Todd Wharton on top of the free kick. Former Virginia man, decent ball in. Clearance, not nearly enough for Reno. Still with RGV. Good delivery in, skips all the way across. Good pressure from RGV, not letting Reno play cleanly out of the back, and why not make life as difficult as possible for Morgan, as you mentioned, a side that obviously is playing at 8:30 as far as Pacific time is concerned, and having played a game on Saturday.
And the shape of RGV defensively, and especially going back to their last game, has been pretty good, and they've done a nice job of deciding when to press together and step towards them. And if I'm Gerson Echeverri right now, I'm telling my team that we press any ball that we can get on, because it's early for Reno, and they're wanting to just get into the game and find their rhythm. But if RGV can disrupt that and just get after the back line, step their whole defensive lines up, that's the last thing you want to see on the ball if you're Reno, is a bunch of players right in front of you coming at you, especially if it's earlier than normal.
Well, Justin Echeverri said that his side did a very good job of disrupting play in the middle of the park for Orange County. which is obviously one of the tougher things to do, not only in the Western Conference, but I think in the USL, just given how solid Aiden Quinn and Christian Duke are. RGV, another decent opportunity, cleared away by Partita. But more pressure from the Toros. Padilla looking for an option on the restart. And it's going to be a foul against RGV. Select is the official soccer ball of the USL. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit www.selectsportamerica.com. Receive free shipping on orders over $50. Intended for Masovsky. Motions to James Kiffey to perhaps keep it on the ground next time. Tough ball to handle, kept in play. RGV able to win it. The referee says play on. Zaldivar matched up with Richards. Lofted ball towards the back post and eventually runs out of play.
One thing I've noticed with RGV, and we saw it earlier with Zach Wright on the ball when he found his way into the corner, and then just on that last ball, sometimes when they get into a good position offensively, for example, in the corners, and they don't really have options, they just assume that crushing the ball across the box is the best option. Which, yes, if there's players, but usually there's not players where they hit it. Usually they just hit it as hard as they can. It ends up finding its way past the far post, and there's no players there. So when they find their way into corner, I would love to see the midfield work even harder to help get that ball. Maybe find the other side once again, but just getting to the corner and then crushing a ball across, if it's not going to a certain area, doesn't really do much offensively.
Well, this one was crushed over the head of Masovsky, and RGV will retain possession. Ontiveros, good distribution. Here's Quintanilla. Delivery hits Richards. Back in. Eric Bird on the first time, but well over the bar. And Morgan, just like you were talking about, the support from the midfield was able to create that shot.
And the support from the midfield is what helped that play continue. It was a really nice entry ball from a center back all the way high into Zaldivar. He did a great job finding space, but when that happened, he laid it back off. You have Quintanilla running forward. Then on the left side, Enriquez, who does a good job just getting the ball back across, but he's calm and picks his head up to then find Eric Bird when the first cross didn't go off.
Strong work from Griffiths on the near side. Almost didn't recognize Eric Bird. Usually able to pick him out pretty cleanly with that ponytail from 2017, but going clean cut in 2018. And safe to say it's working for Mr. Bird, as we'll get an offside flag up on the near side.
RGV is playing with two forwards, but for the most part, they're all moving. And right here, Quintanilla is definitely offside. He's a step past his defender. But there's so much movement up top that it's hard to find because they don't have that one target forward that's waiting for the entry ball. So with the movement defensively for Reno, it's difficult to mark, but RGV has to be aware and they have to look at where the runners are because they don't have a big player just waiting, sitting in front of the back line, waiting to just hold on to the ball.
Lafeka trying to dink it over the top for an on-running Kasipli. Good hold-up play from Quintanilla. Now here's Eric Bird on the move. Striding forward with purpose. Now it goes out wide. Quintanilla again. Ball asking a lot of the Reno back line, and Bersano will be able to claim it. That was probably the cleanest move from back to front that we've seen from RGV so far in these opening 13.5 minutes or so.
The connections between the front runners or attacking midfielders and then the rest of the center of the park has been on for RGV. They're forcing Reno to track back, and they're using the space really well, getting forward. And I love that ball that Enriquez has now played back across twice, because next time he gets the ball at his feet, Reno defensively has to be aware of him going 1v1 or cutting that ball across, because he's done both.
Well, starting off well has certainly been a big thing for Gerson Echeverri since becoming the new coach, and they've had some leads and squandered some leads in almost every single game they've played in so far, with the exception of the Colorado Springs Switchbacks game, which Quintanilla was just able to pull one back for academic purposes. But game against Portland Timbers 2, the game against Seattle Sounders 2, and even the Sacramento tie, which looks like a good result, but they were up 2-0 and gave up late goals in that one. So getting on the board early is certainly key for this side, but I think that closing out the game is the next step. Reno with a turnover. Masovsky finding Kasipli. Great challenge on the near side. Connor Donovan came over from OCB in the offseason. See that ball holding up from the wind, and you can also hear the wind gusting through our crowd mics here at HEB in Edinburgh, Texas. Here's Eric Bird in some space to play. Chewy Rodriguez looking to take on Brent Richards. Todd Wharton got a caught underneath his foot. Dispossessed from Masovsky, but good work from the former Virginia man. Just a slow play up and not allow Reno to counter on the other end. Reno, of course, coming off of that record-breaking offensive season in 2017, but unfinished business as they were ousted in the playoffs by OKC Energy FC, as it's easy work for Nico Corti. There were a number of teams, Morgan, in the previous season that I feel maybe didn't live up to the hype come postseason time. Real Monarchs another side in the Western Conference. Charleston Battery in the East, the number 2 seed, down by New York Red Bulls 2 in the first round in that 2-7 matchup. Do you think that that was maybe because the results were a bit deceiving, or was that just a one-game off type deal? Or was it a case-by-case thing for a team like Reno, a team like Charleston?
I feel like it depends, like you said, case by case. And when it comes to the postseason, getting a result, I don't think always means that you are the better team. I think it means you're the better team on the night and you got the job done. But across the board, I think in the postseason or any time, I think obviously you see how teams do over the course of a season, and I think that shows a lot more. But when it comes to a one-game playoff for each game, I don't think it always means that one team is the best, but on that night they were and they performed. But that's why we love playoffs or postseason of any kind, and there's just thinking about it, I get a little nervous just because you feel for these teams that have been so strong and maybe you say didn't live up to expectations because on that one night they needed to get a result and they didn't.
It was Reno falling to OKC Energy FC. It was that Vucic goal that was able to propel, at the time, Jimmy Nielsen's side into the next round, and then they were able to defeat San Antonio FC in penalties. It was Vucic again with the equalizing goal to send it into extra time. Then obviously Swope Park Rangers coming away victorious in an 11-round penalty kick shootout in the Western Conference Finals. And RGV has a tough stretch coming up. They're at Fresno next Wednesday, another midweek madness edition of the USL, and then they're home against San Antonio FC and home against the two-time reigning Western Conference champions of the Swope Park Rangers. Like you said, Morgan, we're past that sort of grace period of the new season. As James Kiffey makes a nice move, still on top of it. But good work from Todd Warden just to disrupt him right at the end. And a goal kick coming for Nico Corti.
And Tyler, being past that, if you want to call it a grace period, of those first couple games, and when teams start to find their cohesion and all of that, I think that is something that makes these games even more interesting, because maybe a result doesn't always come off, but you see how teams like to play. And you see the styles that each player brings to a team, and they just start to play together. And I think, obviously, usually teams start to get results maybe more than they did early on, but you just really start to see how coaches like to coach, how players and teams like to play together.
Decent ball forward. Sliding challenge, no call from the referee. Adam Strang struggling to try to get there. And a goal kick coming again for RGV. Seen some good work from both outside backs of RGV in the opening moments from Padilla and Adams.
But you've also seen really good work from the wingers from RGV. You see Chuy Enriquez, who's getting forward on that left side, creating offensively, and then tracking all the way back towards his end line defensively. They're having to put in the work because the Reno outside backs like to get forward, and they're willing to do it. So far, they've done a really good job getting up and back. For the most part, it's been Enriquez more so on the other side than it has been in right. But you've seen them willing to buy in and willing to put in that work defensively.
Well, in our midweek conference call with Jerison Echeverry, I guess it's tough to call it midweek because this is a midweek game now, but in our Monday early week, earlier in the week, he said that one of the most dangerous things about Reno is their width, and I have to imagine that that was a talking point in the days leading up to this game, was the wingbacks are going to have to put in the work because of the ability of James Kiffey, because of the ability of Brent Richards. As you see it again, they get so unbelievably wide, and this is a game that's all about space, and if your wingers and your outside backs are going to get chalk on their boots on the outside, it makes it so incredibly difficult for your defense to try to rotate and try to put pressure on the ball.
And you're right on that, but you can also spin it and look at the positive, which attacking, if we're going at these outside backs, they're going to be higher than normal, especially in transition. If they get forward and lose the ball, that's a moment for the RGV wingers to get forward and spring into that space because the outside backs have left it. So defensively, you have more responsibility than some other teams if those players don't get into the attack as much, but you can use it to your advantage as well.
RGV looking to take advantage of this counter here. Broken up by Kasipli. Bird. Eric Bird going for a goal. It was great interplay right at the top of the box, but Bird can't put it on frame.
RGV is just busy in the middle of the field. They're finding the ball. Wharton, a really nice entry pass to Bird, who is able to control that ball, play the 1-2, he gets it back. There's not a lot of space there. He does what he can in that small amount of grass that he has, but he's still able to get a shot off. But you're just seeing RGV create chances from the midfield, or the midfield is allowing the chances to continue to happen.
Kiffey unable to hang on to it. Kiffey, of course, was a longtime mainstay for the Sacramento Republic from 2014 to 2017, over 100 appearances for the club, who upset the Real Monarchs in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs in a penalty shootout as well. Played his college ball at UC Santa Barbara after a couple years at community college, and has become just one of those guys in the United Soccer League that you can count on for just a very solid 90 minutes at that outside back position. Jordan Morel striding forward from that outside back, or center back position, I should say. Now midway through this first half, Tyler Terrens along with former Virginia Tech Hokie Morgan Conklin. Glad to have you with us for this early rising edition of the United Soccer League. Again, this was a game that was originally slated for March 28th. Reno had some travel issues. They postponed the game and had to get it in for the sake of the kids. That is his Kids Day here at HEB. Must be nice to be able to take a day off from class and watch a little bit of United Soccer League action.
Field trip. Those are always the best. I never went to any sporting events, but that would, I feel like, be really fun.
Would be fun.
There were some
I can remember some field trips that just were not fun at all.
I was going to say, there were some that people wouldn't sign up for, but I feel like this is definitely one.
You had optional field trips?
Yeah, there were a couple, but this one, if it's optional, I'm sure everyone's going.
Here's Lindo Mafeka dragged down. Has to be a yellow card, and it will be. Tactical foul there from Ontiveros as Lindo Mafeka was in on goal.
Dragged him down.
One thing about Lindo Mfeka is he is so good with the ball at his feet. He's able to take this turn. His touch is a little bit ahead of him, but he's able to get there and just beat Ontiveros to the ball. Ontiveros does what he can. I think it's a little bit too obvious, actually way too obvious, but Mfeka is able to create that because his back's to goal. He turns and is getting at the back line, and RGV knows that they don't want him dribbling straight at this back line.
Mafeka had the second goal in their win against OKC as this header flicked over the bar.
Yes, I asked the referee. He told me it was good.
So Ontiveros, the center back paired up with Connor Donovan, will have to be a little bit more careful heading into future challenges. It's the flick on Quintanilla. Trying to send it along. Decent work here. Might fall for Mafeka. Good sliding challenge in the end, but only as far as James Kiffey. Good idea from Kasimpli just to let it run through Mafeka. He's a few steps behind. Partida, recently named to the USL Team of the Week after his performance in their win against Steve Cook's OKC Energy FC. Now a late foul called against RGV and a good set piece opportunity for Reno.
The movement from Reno was really good in that last build-up. They have so many players around the ball and moving, so RGV defensively had to get compact there. I don't know if I completely agree with that call. I think it was late, no matter what. If it was the foul on Bird, which I'm assuming it was. But nonetheless, this gives Reno a good opportunity. Their second set piece in just a matter of minutes.
It'll be Mafeka trying to put it on frame. Wasn't too far off. Nico Corti thought he was going to need to make a save. Ambitious effort from Lindo Mafeka.
That's a beautiful strike. And I think what's more impressive is that he just sauntered up and didn't really look like he was going to be the one that was going to hit that, and puts a beautiful strike on frame, bending ball with his left foot. Corti's there to cover, though, in case it was on frame, but for RGV defensively, decision-making. There's no need to foul, and just be aware, because defensively their shape has been good. If they can get tighter, then Reno doesn't get these opportunities.
Reno trying to go a bit more direct on that one. Another goal kick coming for Nico Corti. 21-year-old from Westlake Village, California. Hear exclusive stories directly from the USL's players and USLsoccer.com's From the Pitch, with written and video content that provides unfiltered access and a first-person look into the professional game and players' everyday lives. Kiffey. Partida. Swarmed by 3 orange jerseys of RGV. Toro's looking to operate the other way. Quintanilla couldn't get the return for Chuy Rodriguez. They'll go back to number 11. Again matched up with Richards. Chewy chips it towards the back post. Zach Wright unable to keep it in play, and that's another instance, Morgan, as you mentioned earlier in this game, of just sort of hoping for a ball at the back post rather than trying to pick somebody out. Here's Linda Mafeka, still with it, and got caught up right behind Padilla.
I've been really impressed with RGV defensively and the numbers that they're getting around the ball. On that last split up, when you said that Reno was swarmed, there were 3 players around, and then in the transition, it turned into 5 RGV players getting into the attack. So they're doing a nice job of getting the numbers, winning the ball, and then springing more players forward.
Reno springing forward at the moment. Partita. Now slipping through is Masovsky. Jordan Morel. Switching the point of attack back for James Kiffey. Couple of shakes and shimmies, working with Kasipli. It's a big touch. Not necessarily know if Kiffey was trying to play that to himself or to Kasipli. It ends up working out at the end of the day. Here's Richards. Fortuitous bounce. Masovsky can't find Mafeka. Open O, offside. A couple of unfortunate bounces there for RGV as they gambled trying to step in front of the Reno attackers and almost resulted in a goal for the away side.
Defensively, RGV really cannot give this Reno front any space right around the top of the box. Just the awareness from Hopino to see that little space and to play that ball into the seam, trying to find Mfeka. Yes, he was offside, it didn't come off, but just that awareness and vision at the top of the box, because how many players see it and just want to go straight to goal, especially in the placement where he was.
Hopino and Todd Wharton get tangled up right in front of the official Alejandro Mariscal. Kasipli found from behind. Not the first time that RGV has dragged down a Reno player.
There have been times when players have been tangled up right around the midfield. Zaldivar's working back, he grabs the player, brings him down. But defensively in transition, RGV, I said, has been doing a great job getting numbers around the ball, but they need to do a little bit better when tracking. How to approach that ball when there's a Reno player dribbling at the back line. How is he going to step in and just kind of push Reno into the area where the rest of his team is to help to win the ball that way, rather than getting into a tackle from behind when it's a poor angle. He's probably not going to win the ball.
Zach Carroll. Matt Bersano looking to switch the field. It's a great ball for Kiffey, who handles it wonderfully. James Kiffey, dangerous here from Reno. Slipped through. Masovsky offside again. Oh, that was terrific build-up from Reno, even if it is blown off.
The last 2 plays that have been called back from Reno show how dangerous they are. Kiffey's first touch sets him up beautifully. He brings it central, is able to find the ball into Kasipli in the middle, and then that ball back across. But that just shows the way that they use their players and pieces, getting the outside backs forward, the awareness of Kiffey to bring his touch central to open up his options, and then the peeling run off from Mazovsky.
Masovsky already with 3 goals this season in his rookie campaign. Talked about his gives and takes as a rookie. And while he has been able to get forward and put the ball in the back of the net. It was a game against Las Vegas at Cashman, where he scored the go-ahead goal, and then just a few minutes later, almost seconds later, he issued a red card and put his team behind the 8 ball for the rest of the game. Las Vegas would end up equalizing.
And Tyler, that's what I was mentioning when I said in the open that he needs to just adjust a little bit to the professional game and getting used to playing in environments such as the one that the Lights have at Cashman Field, and just playing in environments when teams are going to poke at you and try to egg you on and get you to do something that is probably not best for your team, because like you said, he comes up big with the goal and then they lose him for the rest of the game, then the next game.
You could play 100 games at Cashman. I don't know if you're ever going to get used to that environment. I think it's fair to say probably in the top 3 most difficult places to play in the United Soccer League this year.
I would absolutely agree with that, and I think I would really only want to play there if I was a member of the Las Vegas Lights.
Good challenge from Todd Warden, points to the ball, claiming that's what he got, and Alejandro Mariscal agrees. Although Reno able to win back possession. Kasipli in a ton of space in the middle of the field. Now finding Mafeka. Linda Mafeka cutting it back. It's a toe poke shot to it. And Nico Corti able to get down. You could see the frustration from Connor Donovan as it was way too easy for Reno to get through.
But it looked easy because Mfeka is so good in small spaces. With the ball at his feet, just this cut, he doesn't just cut it across his body, he cuts it back a little bit, which then makes it tough for a defender, Ontiveros, to step in because he brings it back towards his body. He is so good when he doesn't have space, when it looks like nothing's going to come from a play. Mfeka usually can get something off.
24-year-old from Durban, South Africa. Played collegiately at the University of South Florida in his 2nd season with Reno. 21 appearances, 6 goals in 2017. A very underrated piece of this Reno cog. Sent through, shot on frame, tipped by Nico Corti and off the crossbar. Just got enough to it to keep it out. And it was Antoine Opino who was knocking on the door.
Reno, as a team, keeps knocking on the door, Tyler. They have had this momentum, and they're getting forward, finding their attack. The ball from Opino is good. It comes across, but Corti does a nice job getting a touch on that. That's a ball I think he was trying to send across as a cross. Looked like it was going on frame, and if Corti didn't get that touch, may have ended up in the back of the net.
First real big save that has needed to come from Nico Corti. Rookie who comes over from Stanford. Here's Kasipli on the corner. Zaldivar. And Jordan Morel. Play it back for Luis Fernando. Let's go Toros is the chant from the dozens upon dozens of elementary school students who have made it out here to HEB on Kids Day. Here's Kiffey. Good ball through. Seth Kasipli into the area. Comes back. Masovsky. Huge block. I believe it was Ontiveros who gave up the body there. Back in from Partita. Great ball. Now here's Mafeka. Masovsky again. Linda Mafeka trying to take it over. Back out for Kasipli. Reno really applying pressure now. Kiffey, terrific little move. And another one. Kiffey just dinks it in. And Chuy Rodriguez can just see this out of play. Outstanding stuff from Kiffey on this near side. Just couldn't get the delivery right.
It's a good job by Reno to know that it was too tight in the center of the field to bring that ball out to Kiffey. And at that moment, Kiffey knows that he's playing against, is matched up against Zach Wright, a player who is not a defender by trade. So he's going to slice him up, did a nice job 1v1 technically. The ball then ends up on his right foot. He chooses to go with the outside of his left, so it doesn't hit exactly where they're looking to play it. But just really good awareness from Reno to know when to pop the ball out wide because there's too many people in the middle, is way too crowded.
USL's official Twitter feed keeps you up to date with news, live game updates, and highlights from around the league 24/7. Follow @USL on Twitter. Zach Carroll, bit of a heavy touch, able to clean it up. Open-O. Dinks it in. Connor Donovan is there. Cleaned up by Partita. Kiffey bending it in. Never gets past Padilla. And Partita fouled right outside of the box. It was a silly foul. Partita had already gotten a shoulder to it. I believe it was Zaldivar who's the culprit there. And now a glorious chance for Reno to take the lead right before halftime.
I think no matter what happened here, that normally wouldn't have been called, but earlier there was just a couple steps before that. There was a play before when Reno was taken out on the ball. That probably should have been called, so I think this is just making up for that, and there's a little dive that helps get the foul called. But Kasipli right on top of the box. You also have Mfeka. We saw what he did earlier, just steps outside of the box. Corti needs to come up big here because a goal before half for Reno would be huge, but RGV would definitely put a damper.
It'll be Kasipli, and it'll be over the bar. Have to imagine Mfeka's going to be on the next one.
Either one of them, really. I mean, Mfeka's was definitely better, going back a little bit, closer to frame, but Kasipli struck it well, just skied it over the box, but he made good connection.
Quintanilla trying to slot it through. Zach Wright takes a spill. So Quintanilla has to go negative. Now they're coming back the other way. The shot, the early shot from Zaldivar. Probably a bit rushed. I have to say that was probably the best chance for RGV thus far, and really didn't even challenge Matt Bersano.
It was a beautiful ball, just split in from Quintanilla. But like you said, Zaldivar just rushed it. He needs composure there. I don't know if he looked over his shoulder, saw what was around him. He could have gotten a touch on that one. But if you're a forward and you make that run in the box, you don't assume that you have time, which is why he got the shot off quickly.
Osofsky tripped up. Another foul called against RGV in their defensive third. As we'll take another look at that Zaldivar half chance.
Quintanilla just places this ball right in between the center backs. At that moment, coming all the way across is Zach Carroll because Jordan Morel was beat by the pass. So you have Carroll coming all the way across. Zaldivar had time for a touch to at least face up because it's difficult. Your body's going one way, trying to hit it across the other to get on frame, and he was just rushed.
Visit the USL's Instagram story every Monday evening to watch Kelsey Steele's hat trick as she breaks down 3 key talking points from the previous week's action. Quintanilla, good work to hold it up. Now encouraging Chuy Rodriguez forward. Chuy, lofted ball intended for Zach Wright, nodded back across. Strong defensive work from Zach Carroll. Did come at a price. Padilla. Good switch for Chuy Rodriguez once more. Quintanilla. Right, just bullied off the ball by Kasipli, and Bersano able to claim it.
Kasipli wanted to win that aerial battle against Wright, but that last buildup from RGV was really strong. I like the way that Enriquez had more texture on the ball. He didn't just whip it across. He was more aware of where he was hitting it. Good texture on it, but Zach Wright does a nice job of taking a couple steps back to keep that ball in play. In the past, those have gone over that far post player, but he was aware of where the ball was coming, took a couple steps back to keep it in play.
Poor ball from Eric Bird. James Kiffey able to claim it. You can hear from the Reno bench, let's go forward. But on the road, Morgan, 10:30 a.m. kickoff after a game on Saturday. I think he and Russell would probably sign up for 0-0 at the end of the first 45 minutes. Kasipley. Come out wide for Kiffey. Referee says play on. James Kiffey trying to get on that left foot. Kiffey again trying to work on Zach Wright. And a foul on Kiffey, but he is just relentless whenever he gets on top of the ball.
James Kiffey, along with Brent Richards, are parts of this Reno team that Jerson Echeverry knew they had to prepare for. And early on, they weren't getting forward as much, but in the past 10, 15 minutes, they've really joined into the attack, and it's been causing RGV issues. But going back to what we heard from the bench, hearing them yell, get forward, go forward, Reno does need to, but they're better when they're patient and pick the moments when that can happen. When they can get forward and get numbers, get their outside backs into the attack. When you have a player dribbling at the back line, but with numbers.
Adams gets a touch, and Wharton will reset for RGV. And that's going to do it for the first half. No stoppage time from Alejandro Mariscal, and no goals in the first half of this early morning affair. RGV and Reno 1868 FC tied 0-0 at the end of the first half. Morgan Conklin, your thoughts?
I think the time of this kick definitely got to Reno at the beginning, but they found their way into the game. The last 15 minutes or so were really strong from them. They were getting on the offensive end. RGV needed to put away an early chance. They need to find that momentum that they had early on.
Lunch break here at HEB as it's Kids Day, and it's scoreless at the end of the first 45 minutes. Neither RGV or Reno can find the breakthrough, but we're hoping for a breakthrough in the second half. Halftime show coming up, 0-0. Back here at HEB Park, halftime as RGV and Reno tied up at 0-0 as neither team was able to find a breakthrough in the first 45 minutes. Couple of half chances for both Jerson Echeverry and Ian Russell's side, but really not much to write home about in this 10:30 a.m. local time kickoff. And for RGV, their next match is going to be at the Fresno Foxes. 7:30 kickoff Central Time, Wednesday, May 9th, part of this back-to-back-to-back Wednesday affairs for RGV. No games over the weekend, but they will be at Juan Pablo Caffa and Fresno in their next matchup, looking to get another 3 points against Reno here, building off their result against Orange County last week. We'll head to another break, still 0-0.
Welcome to the Breakdown once again. Thank you to everyone on social media that's given me positive comments, and I really appreciate the support. Here's episode 5, week 6 of the Breakdown.
Canadian Sojourn here in 2018.
Played into the penalty area, some good give and go here. There's a shot, and they've opened the scoring.
This team goal by North Carolina is fantastic. If you notice that there's always players on the move, they're always giving the attacking player who's got the ball an option to move. For Rios there, he has 2 or 3 options at the time when he received the ball, and he just found himself in extremely good space. But again, it's just the constant movement of the team, and it makes it very difficult for the defenders to track runners. Once again, it's a fantastic first-time finish, especially on turf, into the top corner.
Oh, bad back pass. Arboleda picks it up, takes the shot, and puts it in the back of the net.
Arboleta's goal starts with his positioning. If you notice, he gives himself an opportunity to close down the centre-back, and he reads the pass extremely well and uses his pace to get there. And then obviously, once he's used his pace, he has to slow himself down. And you see from the finish that there's nothing the keeper could do about that. The celebration is not so much in for Player of the Week, but the finish definitely is.
For Escalante. Goes well to pick this up. Goes through the legs of Navarro. Sends the service. Had it.
Escalante's skill here has 2 or 3 different stages. The first stage is when he receives the ball, and it's not the greatest ball to him, but he makes the most out of it. And when he turns, the defender, he's expecting the defender to tackle him. When the defender doesn't make a move, then that's his opportunity to create the skill. And the composure as well. Once he's made the skill, not to get carried away, but to have the composure to cross it. And it's a fantastic cross, and I think he's expecting more from his striker there.
Iwasa, Bijev. Bijev cuts, plays it across, oh, it's in!
When Hall receives the ball here, it's not the easiest ball to deal with. He uses it to his advantage, and it draws 2 defenders out. And once he's drew the 2 defenders out, it then creates more space for Bijev. And when he receives the ball, I think the defender's expecting him to go on his right foot, but he does a fantastic skill. And at a tight angle there, it's a fantastic finish. The composure to relax himself, but to slot it through the keeper is fantastic. And it makes it very difficult for the keeper to get down low when he shoots it at his legs. I hope you've all enjoyed episode 5, week 6 of the Breakdown. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Moving through the big intermission here at HEB Park in beautiful, humid Edinburgh, Texas. RGV and Reno all knotted up at a couple of goose eggs here at the end of the first 45 minutes. Tyler Terrens along with former Virginia Tech Hokie Morgan Conklin. And Morgan will take a look around the USL. Between News and Notes Team of the Week, we'll start with the News and Notes. 3 unbeatens remain in the United Soccer League. Louisville City and Pittsburgh Riverhounds, of all people, who didn't score a goal in their first 2 games, but have been able to use that Bob Lilly mentality of bend but not break. It's not the prettiest thing in the world to watch, but they certainly get it done from a result standpoint. Real Monarchs opened up Zions Bank Stadium. We were on the call for that match in a 0-0 draw against Las Vegas Lights FC. Oddly enough, the only game that Las Vegas has been able to get a clean sheet in. They were down a man for the majority of the match. Just a whole host of great stuff going around the USL. And of course, 500,000 in fan attendance was passed 2 weeks earlier than last year. So the growth in this league, more than visible. And here's a look at the undefeated teams remaining in the USL. Sacramento, the only Western Conference one. Who do you think is going to last the longest out of these 3?
I mean, just looking at Bob Lilly's history, I think it might be Pittsburgh. But in terms of play, I would probably say Louisville. I don't think it'll be easy. I think sometimes defensively, their offense is so strong, and so is their defense. But I think sometimes in games, they can maybe give up at times, but give up goals, not give up. But looking at Pittsburgh, I mean, just their defense. Like, Bob Lilly is just a defensive mastermind. I mean, it is so hard to score on his teams.
No love in the heart of Sacramento, I guess.
Sorry, I'm just focused a little bit more. I mean, Bob Lilly, come on.
Now here's a look at the latest edition of the Team of the Week. Couple of players who are on display in this one at HEB, on display on your screen. Partita, as well as Todd Wharton. That's Todd Wharton's second honor of the year. Partita had a terrific match against OKC Energy FC. And a look at our upcoming schedule for this weekend. Penn FC hosting Tampa Bay Rowdies. Tampa Bay just a completely different team when they're away from Al Lang Stadium. Phoenix Rising hosts LA Galaxy 2. Those two teams met a couple weeks ago. Didier Drogba had the game-winning goal in that affair. Indy 11 and Louisville City FC. I think that's one that everybody has circled on their calendar, including myself.
But also at a 12 p.m. time, I know good teams can play at all times, but sometimes they just look different depending on where it is, if it's an away game, and the time. It's just different. It's something you have to take into account.
Well, 12 p.m. It's not 10:30 a.m. Which
true.
is what we started off with here at HEB Park. It's Kids Day, and they've certainly been enjoying some nice football thus far. Second half kickoff right around the corner. Don't go anywhere. Big intermission continues here at HEB. Second half kickoff just a few moments away, as RGV and Reno will be looking to find some sort of offensive breakthrough in the second half. And of course, they haven't scored yet when we highlighted both of their offensive prowess at the beginning of the game, just sort of the broadcaster jinx coming into full effect here in Edinburgh, Texas. And Morgan will take a look at some of the best moments from the first half, and not a ton of them. RGV at times looked dangerous, Reno at times looked dangerous, but really it's that final product in the final third that's been missing.
But I think what we will see in these highlights is the way that each team was building up. With RGV, it was going through the midfield, finding a target, bringing it back, maybe spraying it wide. And then for Reno, it was set pieces and getting the outside backs into the attack. That's really what we saw from both sides, especially during the moments when they were playing well, with RGV early in the game setting their tone, and then Reno finding their momentum, really getting those outside backs forward. Brent Richards, James Kiffey were just creating when they got into the attack.
This is probably the best chance of the match, as Antoine Openo was able to get a shot off. Cordy got a touch to it. Masovsky has his shot blocked in front by Omar Ontiveros. And then James Kiffey, how about this footwork? Not once, but twice able to get Zach Wright just guessing any which way. But the delivery, not the best from Kiffey. And would end up running out of play. This was a great chance from Zaldivar, but completely rushed it. It's just been a bit anxious from both sides.
And I think the patience is what's missing. We've seen Reno, when they're patient, they're able to get numbers forward. And RGV, if they can be patient, Zaldivar can just get a touch. But right here, a really good chance. The ball comes back to Quintanilla, but his first touch lets him down.
Not many saves to be made for Matt Bersano. You saw Nico Cordy having to make one. Just one shot on target for RGV, just 2 for Reno. Morgan, what has to change in the second half?
Just patience for RGV and just being aware of what is on. If you have time, take a look. If there's no player on you, take your space, take your time. But for Reno, keep getting the outside backs forward because that was working for them. RGV did a nice job accounting for that defensively, but if Reno continues to attack and continues to get those outside backs forward, at some point something is going to come off because they've been so dangerous and created really good chances when they've gotten forward.
Well, RGV are coming off their first win and their first clean sheet of the season after the result against Orange County. Reno looking to make it 3 in a row, but there do need to be some goals in order for any of that to happen as the kids continue to enjoy their time here at HEB and away from the classroom. Must be nice. And we'll take a look at the RGV upcoming schedule, and certainly a daunting one, Morgan Conklin. At Fresno, home against San Antonio, home against Swope Park Rangers. They get a little bit of an easier task against LA Galaxy too, but even that side is a team that can show up some weeks, can show up not. And then at Real Monarchs in Zions Bank Stadium on June 4th. So they certainly have their work cut out for them in the month of May and leading into June.
And it started out at the end of April with their match against Orange County. That was a tough one, but they were able to get a result and get a result at home. That's important that they got 3 points at home. So now they need to look to get points here too before they go back on the road at Fresno. And then they need to just take care of the home games. That's something that we spoke to Jerson Echeverry about earlier this season, is the importance of getting points and wins and goals at home.
Well, Fresno is certainly a team that's chomping at the bit for their next match, as they have dropped a number of points on the table, most specifically against Phoenix, in their most recent match. And the Reno upcoming schedule looks like this: at Colorado Springs, at Tulsa, at Sacramento. We're sensing a theme here at the beginning of May for Reno. Everything away from Greater Nevada Field. And Sacramento, a team that hasn't lost yet. Tulsa still looking for their first win. Colorado Springs Switchbacks. Steve Pritchard was a great coach, and no matter who's on his roster, they're going to be playing at a high level.
And it's 4 away games counting today and 4 away games in 10 days. So there's not much turnaround, including all of that travel as well. It's a difficult stretch for Reno, so if they can just try to get points here and there. It starts today with a tough matchup earlier than they would like to play, coming into a hot area in Edinburgh, Texas. So if they can get points throughout that stretch, that'll be a positive for them, because that's going to be a grind to get through that.
Well, the wind continues to be a factor here at HEB. RGV were playing against it in the first half. They'll have the wind in the second half. Didn't know there were that many palm trees in Edinburgh, Texas.
I feel like
Are those the only 3?
Yeah, they might be transplants. I don't think those are
From Florida.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
There's a ton in Florida.
Well, if you're hitting this par 3, you might want to account for the wind, as you see the gusts coming in at an extremely high rate. And while we're getting set for second half kickoff, we'll take a look at the upcoming USL ESPN Game of the Week schedule, as both RGV and Reno making their way out onto the field. Fresno and RGV on May 9th. St. Louis FC and Phoenix May 30th. FC Cincinnati will host Bethlehem Steel at Nippert. And how about those 2 games at the bottom of the schedule? Nashville and Indy. And then Indy hosting Ottawa. Indy getting a lot of national love.
Yeah. It's
Why not?
The start of almost the summer on ESPN. The national channels for the USL, which will just be awesome for the whole league. But like you said, Indy gets a lot of looks early on.
They've been very impressive at the start of 2018. Obviously, their first season in the United Soccer League, coming over from the NASL. But Suni Saad, Jack McInerney, Martin Rennie has his club playing some terrific football at the moment. And of course, Suni Saad's bomb of a goal from about 35 yards out off the free kick was the talk of the town until Kenny Walker scored a Zlatan Ibrahimovic-like goal against Ottawa Fury FC this past weekend. And we mentioned the wind, I guess, ad nauseum at this point, but it's kind of hard to ignore. 22 miles per hour is what we're reading right now, as Matt Bersano, Jordan Morel having a discussion with the Reno backline, as well as Antoine Openo. If you are Ian Russell, midweek game, 10:30 a.m. kickoff. You did have a game on Saturday. What's the message coming into the second half?
Well, first off, it's just ignore the conditions. No, don't complain about it. You have to take it into account, but ignore the fact that it's early. Ignore the fact that it's windy. Ignore the fact that this pitch players tend to slip a lot on it. So something's up with the field. So ignore all of that and just play. Be patient, build a possession, get the players forward from the outside back because they create, and just keep doing. They went into halftime with momentum and playing good soccer, so bring that back out.
Well, width is certainly something that Gerson Echeverri was concerned with coming into this match. And on the other side for RGV, you talked about being patient, Morgan. Is it just as simple as that?
Well, for RGV, it's awareness and just decision-making also, because it's being patient when that calls for it. So when I keep going back to that last ball that was played in from Quintanilla, played into Zaldivar in the box. Like, that is a time to be patient and get a touch and to see what's around you. But other times we've seen when they get after the ball and they move the ball quickly in the midfield, ping it into the middle, bring it back out, and then find wide, that's a time to get the tempo going.
Officially underway for the start of the second half here at HEB. Tyler Terrens along with former Virginia Tech Hokie Morgan Conklin. Glad to have you with us for this early rising edition of the United Soccer League on a beautiful Wednesday but gusty morning in Edinburgh, Texas. Mafeka. Wasowski holding up play. Trying to dink it through, but Nico Corti read it the entire way. Only had to make really one big save in the first half, Nico Corti, and that was the half cross, half chipped effort from Antoine Openo. Good win from Brent Richards. Poor giveaway from Warden. Does well to win it back, but Mafeka relentless in his efforts to pursue the ball. Openo. Working on Adams. Openo keeps it in play, but right to the feet of Adams. Solid defending.
Well done by Kyle Adams twice. He was ready for Openo. He tried to make a move on him twice, hit it right into where Adams had placed his body. A really nice job defensively.
You're always the first to jump at some good 1v1 defending from the outside back position.
Oh, for sure. But especially from a player like Kyle Adams, he's 6'1", so he's a bigger player. You don't often see bigger players in the outside back area. Usually they're more of a center back. So to see him matched up against dynamic attackers who like to go 1v1 and who like to find the space, he does a really good job of standing them up and forcing them to make the mistakes.
There's a look at RGV's recent form. But as we talked about, Morgan, a couple of times throughout this game, a little deceiving. We're in control of a couple of games, especially their draw against Sacramento. Game that they were up 2-0, gave up 2 late goals.
And that was something that Gerson Echeverri had said about this team, is that they need to be able to close games out. And oftentimes we see teams struggling because they can't score. That hasn't been the issue with RGV. They were losing games and dropping points because they couldn't finish out the game and couldn't defend together and not give up late goals.
Quintanilla. Bird. Eric Bird a couple of times in the opening moments of the second half has given the ball away. It's not looked himself. Mafeka with a neat little dink, able to get on the end of the 1-2. Referee says play on. Here's Kasipli. Wharton nipping at his heels. It's over for Mafeka with some space to play. And it looks like the offside flag was up.
Defensively, Todd Wharton covers ground, and you can almost see it in his body language. When he's going to go into a tackle, he lunges at it, and he covers that ground quickly and gets into the tackle. He also does it when he loses the ball. There's been twice where he's made poor passes. He's the first player back to make the tackle and to get the ball back for his team.
Well, you and I were talking about it off air before the game even started, Morgan, that while Todd Wharton doesn't have the most orthodox game in the world. Wildly efficient. Masovsky over for Mafeka. Big block in front, and it's Omar Ontiveros again, who does not allow the shot to get any further to Nico Corti. That's the second block of the game for him. Partida. Kiffy. Good defensive work from RGV. Gave Reno no options. Now looking for options themselves on the other end. Todd Wharton. Padilla. Whipped in ball. Handled by Richards. Obono. Looking up with Masovsky. And Masovsky going to be called for the foul there. That's sort of the rookie disease that we were talking about with Danny Masovsky. Todd Wharton was baiting him into doing that, and he ended up fouling Wharton in a spot where Reno had possession of the ball, and then RGV gets to go the other way. Padilla. Good ball forward. Zach Wright.
Tyler, you mentioned it earlier about Eric Bird and having trouble connecting passes, and I was going to bring up the same exact thing. But if you see him out on the field, if you watch him, he was with this RGV team last season and even before that, and he's always been really active in the midfield and worked well together with Todd Wharton, especially if you look back to the 2017 season. But he just almost seems a step behind a little bit. He had a nice work completing passes right there and being involved in that buildup, but he's not having the impact that I expected, and I was looking forward to see how he does back with this RGV team, back at HEB Park, back working with Wharton in the middle, and it just hasn't quite been what I thought it would be.
Their connection goes even further back than 2017 when they both played at the University of Virginia for 3 years. Eric Bird just a year older than Wharton, but the two of them won a national championship together. Adams. RGV dispossessed. Mafeka. A couple of players up and about and active on the Reno bench, as Ian Russell, I'm sure, getting close to making a substitution at this point as we're into the 54th minute of play. Jordan Morel. Zach Carroll. Dumping it in for Obono. Pass didn't have enough zip on it. Adams giving it away. Mafeka. Neat little back heel. Here's Obono. What a save from Nico Corti. Just barely getting a foot to it. And denying Obono for the second time today.
Nico Corti coming off his line, and Obono takes a great first touch, cuts off Ontiveros, and goes to the near post. But Corti's able to come out and get a foot on that one. That's a play when a goalkeeper expects the player to go to the far post. Obono tries to sneak it by Corti, but he's so quick and gets the kick save.
Kasipli on the corner. Not his best delivery. Still with Reno. We're just getting word that Luis Gil for RGV getting set to check in. And we're being told that he is going to come on for Matias Zaldivar. Danny Masovsky getting a talking to from the head referee Alejandro Mariscal. And here comes Luis Gil, 24-year-old from Garden Grove, California, who spent some time with the Colorado Rapids, Orange County, and actually had over 130 appearances with Real Salt Lake from 2010 to 2015. And he will play Zaldivar in the 56th minute. Decent day's work for Zaldivar, who had that one good opportunity, but just rushed it. I'm sure he'll watch the game film back and realize maybe could have taken a touch.
One thing that I did like from Zaldivar today was how he worked with Quintanilla. They both were busy, and at times you would find them almost looking like two forwards, but then at other times one would check and work off the other. So they worked really well together in that attacking front.
Looks like Brian Brown is getting ready to come on for Reno. Good work. Slip through. Counter on for RGV. But the delivery sent into a different zip code. Morgan, we talked about the wind, 22 miles per hour. And even in semi-normal conditions, I feel like that's a ball that needs to be played on the ground.
And even if it's not on the ground, at least below knee height, and whip it in. That way it'll hit some sort of player, and you can always look for a deflection. When you whip it in, if it comes in with that much pace, at a height that's difficult to contain. But like you said, I'm sure the wind had a factor, but that ball was way too high no matter if it was windy or not.
And Brian Brown, the Jamaican, coming on to replace Danny Masovsky in the 57th. Maybe not the day that he was hoping for, but Brian Brown, 25-year-old from Sandy Bay, Jamaica. 22 appearances and 3 goals last year with Reno. He's made some stops at Charlotte Independence, Indy 11, Philadelphia Union, as well as Harborview and Montego Bay in the Red Stripe Premier League over in Jamaica. Luis Fernando. Encouraging James Kiffey forward. Now here's Kasipli. Driving towards the byline. It's a decent ball. Here's Brian Brown, his first touch of the game. Squares it back. Fernando blocked in front by Donovan. Brian Brown again, and Corti able to make the save. It'll come out the other way. What a sequence of events. Connor Donovan with a big block, and then Nico Corti with another vital save.
This build-up from Reno is what we said makes them dangerous. Getting the outside backs into the attack. It's a great ball knocked across the 6 at a diagonal, and an even better ball laid off from Brian Brown, laying it back. But RGV defensively is able to respond from their center backs. Todd Wharton getting in on the tackle as well, and then Nico Corti just coming up big with that save.
Corti just 21 years old in his rookie season. Couple of huge saves. Here's Chuy Rodriguez. Delivers it towards the back post. Brought down. Luis Gil battling for it. Still Gil. But Seth Kasipli tracking back and clearing it away. It's gutsy work. Still with RGV. Adams. Trying to get a shot on, but it sprays wide. And it's starting to open up a little bit here, Morgan Conklin, as we are rapidly approaching the hour mark.
RGV looked dangerous with the numbers they got forward, but when the ball came across to Chuy Enriquez, his first touch takes him away from goal. And at that moment, there has to be runners on the back post because in no way is he going to get a shot off with his angle. He looks to just whip it across. It's one of those blind balls again, though. They're not precise with where they're trying to hit it.
Mafeka coming in, studs up, and a little bit reckless. Catches Omar Otaveros. And it looks like it is going to be a little bit of disciplinary action for Lindo Mafeka, as he will be shown mustard here in the 61st.
Ontiveros and Mfeka both look like they went up to kick for that, but the way that Mfeka was coming forward, it was completely studs up, and he's running through the ball. I think Ontiveros is just trying to kick it up, but Mfeka kicks through on that one, which is why it was called. It's the right thing to do. Just there was no harm intended, but it's definitely a dangerous play.
Looks like Jerry Van Avike is getting ready to come on to replace Lindo Mafeka at the next dead ball. Ryan Brown holding up play, sent over the top, intended for Mafeka, caught up in the wind a little bit. The return for Brown. The Jamaican into the area. Brian Brown, Corti saved it. Didn't know much about it. An absolute bullet from Brian Brown. And Nico Corti takes it on the chest for RGV.
I think Brown surprised a couple of us on that play with the way he just decided to hit it and got a good strike on frame. Surprised Corti, but he had his body behind it. Luckily, because his hands were not ready for that one.
There is Jerry Van Avike getting ready to come on. He has Van Wolfgang on the back of his jersey. Got married relatively recently and actually took his wife's last name, as he will come on and replace Lindo Mafeka. So Mafeka's day done in the 63rd. The Dutchman Van Avike onto the scene to join the fun.
And that's a substitution for RGV that you're happy that Mfeka is no longer on the field, but bringing in Van Avike, you know that the creativity in the attacking midfield and the pressure that this defense will be under is going to continue.
Van Avike, who had a solid season with Orange County a year ago, missed out on the playoffs with Logan Paus's team. Now under the tutelage of Braden Cloutier. Flag is going to stay down. Here's Quintanilla into the area. Quintanilla! Big opportunity. Goes by the wayside for RGV, and the reaction from Quintanilla and Jerson Echeverri says it all.
Quintanilla just slipped behind this back line of Reno. He's able to get in, does a nice job of bringing his run central, his touch central, but the angle still is off by the time he looks to hit that ball. But he just snuck in behind him. Reno had no idea where he was.
Adams jockeying with Opano for position. As Opano and Chuy Rodriguez exchanging Cinco de Mayo plans. You have any big plans for Cinco de Mayo?
I'm going to be in Portland.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. Big NWSL weekend in Portland.
Send me a postcard.
Yeah, I'll be at Providence Park. That's where I'll be, not just Portland. Providence Park. I'm looking forward to that one.
Quintanilla in behind the Reno back line again. Jordan Morel out to cover. Numbers in the box for the Toros. Zach Wright loses possession. Bird tried to get it back into the mixer for Quintanilla, who's making that run. Now here's Adams. Chuy Rodriguez. Loves these 1v1 types of situations. Still with it at his feet. Here's Luis Gil. Gil trying to go for goal. Blocked by Partida. And a cool head to find Openo. It's a great ball back for Antoine. Sends it across. Kasipli. Beautiful build up from Reno. Brian Brown. Brian Brown trying to get it on his left foot. Ends up crossing it with his right. Takes a deflection off Connor Donovan. A corner coming up for Reno. But very sound build-up from the Devontae club.
And Reno punished RGV for a poor turnover and having an outside back high and losing the ball where they did. Kyle Adams got forward into the attack. The ball was turned over, and he has to track all the way back, so Hopeno is wide open. He's able to find Kasipli. Brian Brown does a nice job of facing up. His touch takes him away, but Connor Donovan closes that gap to force Brown away from goal.
Into the 67th minute. Still 0-0 between RGV and Reno. In this midweek affair in the United Soccer League's Western Conference, Tyler Terrens along with four-time NCAA participant Morgan Conklin. Glad to have you with us, whether you're sneaking a little bit of footy in during your workday, catching a lunch break, or whatever you may be doing. Chuy Rodriguez. Connor Donovan. Poor ball there from RGV. One back by Zach Wright. Openo and Partida. Little two-man game. Van Avike. Cleared away by Ontiveros, who's had a very sound game at the back for RGV. Here's Van Avike again. Running at Kyle Adams. Openo trying to get back for him. Brown. Adams just able to thump it the other way and out of danger. Good pressure from Gil. Can't keep his footing though. Ontiveros and Openo tangled up. Openo gets the better of him.
When you look across the back line of this RGV team, player for player, I've been very impressed with how they do 1v1 and winning their battles. They often get into trouble when they're having to help other players because they leave their spacing and leave their spots, so to say, and it opens up other areas. But for the most part, when they are under pressure, this RGV back line has been strong.
Here's Openo. Kyle Adams gets a deflection to it. It's a neat little touch back for Kasipli. Fernando trying to find Partida. Quintanilla. A little more than 20 minutes remaining in this one. Quintanilla again. Luis Gil, who came on a few moments ago. Stripped by Zach Carroll. Reno 2 wins in a row, looking to make it 3 here at HEB. Jerry Van Avike, fresh onto the scene. Can't connect the pass with Kasipli. Another strong step from Ontiveros. Seems to be a recurring theme. Reno with decent build-up basically until the final moment. And then RGV remaining cohesive and compact at the back. Quintanilla with a good move, put the shot on frame, and Bersano had to get down in time. First sign of life from RGV in the past 10 minutes or so.
And we've seen more of that patience from them in the build-up, but I like that Quintanilla decides to take this one upon himself. It's not the best shot on frame. He's going to want that one back, but he saw that he had space, and he then entered into it, because we've seen a lot of possession, but just the final ball hasn't been there. There haven't been options, so it's been a lot of possession for nothing.
Todd Warden. Good entry pass in for Gil. Eric Bird helping it along for Kyle Adams. Chuy Rodriguez. Rodriguez with maybe one too many moves. Taken away by Brent Richards. Good pressure from Adams. However, it will be a goal kick at the end of the day. Another substitute coming on. And it's going to be Nicolas Pereira, excuse me, 25-year-old from Colombia in his second season. Joined in September of last year. It's actually a Syracuse Orangeman from 2011 to 2014. And comes on for Eric Bird here in the 72nd. Openo. Brown gets a caught behind him. Sent forward, Quintanilla might be able to get there. It's been that kind of day for both teams offensively.
We've seen the buildup and the chances, but the final shot, the final pass, the final touch just isn't there today for either side. We've seen moments where it's glimpses of it looks like a goal's about to happen, or it's going to be a very dangerous chance, and then it just falls apart.
Well, maybe goals just weren't meant to be before 1:30 or 12:30 local time. 1:30 if you're watching on the East Coast. What is it? Nothing happens before coffee?
Is that a phrase?
I've seen it a couple places.
Okay.
Does it hold true for you?
Not really. But I feel like even with this game, the 10:30 start, that's still kind of late for coffee, right?
You could be on your second or third cup if you're our coordinating producer, Brian Duvall, who has about 8 cups a day.
That's true.
Corner coming up for Reno, 74th minute. Any chance at this point could be the chance. That's the difference between 3 points or no points. Right now it's a point apiece. Seth Kasipli. Outswinger. Nodded away. Kiffy. Openo. Back for Kasipli. Flag stays down. Kasipli squares it across, and Kyle Adams right there every step of the way with Jordan Morel, who got forward from the center back position.
Omar Ontiveros was calling for the offside, but he was on the outside of Kyle Adams, who was central, so Ontiveros was expecting to be the deepest player. He wasn't, because Adams and another were behind him and were deeper. So that's just an awareness thing. As a center back, you need to know, I either need to be on the inside and be in the center, or if I'm on the outside, assume that I'm not the deepest player.
Good touch from Quintanilla. Perea. Decent ball in. Bersano off of his line. Motion to the assistant referee that the offside flag should have gone up. But Matt Bersano really hasn't had all too much work to do today. And we're going to get a hydration break, as the humidity here in Edinburgh, Texas has certainly played a factor. Didn't have one in the first half, but the referee feeling that it's necessary here in the second. As we are into the 76th minute of play, athletic trainers will offer a rinse for both RGV and Reno. And we'll take a look at some of the opportunities that we've had today so far. And as you can see from the scoreline, these opportunities haven't manifested themselves into goals, but there have been some good moves, Morgan Conklin.
And Nico Corti has come up big for RGV a couple times. Hopino getting in behind. This was a nice ball laid off by Brown. Partita gets a shot on frame. Brown stays with it and continues to just pester the back line of RGV.
Brian Brown, since coming on, has made a rather large impact. That one right there, just off the chest of Nico Corti. Didn't know a ton about it, and this was the best chance of the game for either team.
And just sneaking in behind is Aldo Quintanilla. He just makes his run central, which is a good touch coming in, a poor shot on frame, and then another one that let him down right here when he had space going into it. But what I want to see coming out of this hydration break is, yes, these players get a moment to just regroup and get some water, but it's really the only time, other than halftime, where their coaches get to actually talk to them and have a conversation about what needs to be done better. So how do these teams look coming out of the break? We've seen Reno be dangerous with the ball on the attack. Does Ian Russell say something about finishing? Do we see a different look from them? For RGV, defensively, they have been strong and they've had possession, but how do they attack a little bit stronger? How do they get more numbers? How do they take care of the final ball?
And during that hydration break, we do have a change. Monday, a team who came over from Orange County in the offseason. The 19-year-old, originally from Nigeria, who actually spent some time at the County Sports Academy in Cameroon and then eventually moving to Montverde Academy in Florida. Joining the party in the 78th minute. And he will replace Zach Wright. Adams. Decent touch forward for Van Evijk, but Ontiveros says he has virtually the entire game able to cover the ground. Donovan comes in hot for Monday 8 team. He's able to get a touch to it. Able to draw the foul as well. So Reno have 12 shots on the day so far. Interestingly enough, 9 of them have come inside of the penalty area. So if you're Ian Russell, can't necessarily claim that you haven't had good looks on net. That statistic coming to you courtesy of our extraordinary producer, Roberto Fernandez.
And that's something that I mentioned with the final ball or pass not coming off, but a lot of that has to do with the defense and the performance from Nico Corti that we've seen with RGV. Defensively, their center backs and the whole back line in the midfield, they've been putting their body on the line when needed, able to block shots or just mess up an attack for Reno. But Nico Corti has been asked about 3 to 4 times to come up big for his team, and he's done so.
Stanford goalkeeper won national championship as a member of the Cardinal. It was actually the 3rd consecutive championship that they won in his final year with Stanford. Didn't play the whole 4 years. Actually, the first national championship to start that three-peat was led by none other than U.S. men's national team member Jordan Morris. And a foul right outside of the box. About the second or third time that Reno are going to have a set piece from inside of 20 yards. Omar Ontiveros going toe-to-toe with referee Alejandro Mariscal, making his claim.
I think that goes both ways. I don't see that at all. There's a push, but I think both players are thrown off. Hopeno's thrown off his path, but it doesn't help Kyle Adams at all whatsoever either.
Brown and Van Avijk standing on top of it into the 81st minute now. It's a good effort. It's off the side netting. Jerry Van Avijk would have been the Flying Dutchman had that gone in.
That is a beautiful strike from Van Avijk. He just misses that near post. Gets a nice bend on the ball. I think if he shot this from about 5 yards out more, he would have had more of a whip on it, and that would have gone in the back of the goal. He hit that beautifully. Corti extends for it. I think if it was 5 yards back, I don't think Corti would have had a chance.
Brian Brown had Sibley running with him. Here's Hopeno. Antoine Hopeno looking for Brian Brown, but there's a flying Connor Donovan who's able to break it up. Him and Ontiveros have been outstanding at the back for RGV today.
Connor Donovan just breaking up play. He got air on that last one. It's a beautiful ball sent in, though, from Hopeno. It's making its way to Brown. If Donovan didn't touch it, Brown would have finished that.
Kiffey trying to send it across. Blocked by Padilla. And a corner coming up for Reno. More work to do defensively for Nico Corti in this back line of RGV, but they've answered every question that Reno have asked today. And now it's going to be the New Jersey native Duke Lacroix coming on here in the 83rd. Played for the ancient 8-member University of Pennsylvania during his collegiate years. Was with Orange County for 5 games last year, scored 2 goals under Logan Paws. Indy 11 from 2015 to 2016, was the only University of Pennsylvania soccer player to ever achieve Ivy League Rookie of the Year and Ivy League Player of the Year in his tenure. As this one looped all the way towards the back post, and another opportunity gone by the wayside for Reno.
One of the reasons why Reno has been so dangerous was the insertion of Brian Brown into this game. He gets the ball, creates, finds Hopeno on the far side, and then keeps his run going, and Hopeno plays in a great ball that Brown is there for. Just good defending from Connor Donovan, able to clear that. But Brown has made his presence known ever since he came in the game. He's creating and helping his teammates in the run of play, but he's also been busy in the box.
Todd Wharton. Monday, a team can't get there. Good football from Reno. Finally able to play out, but only as far as Connor Donovan. Continue. Chuy Rodriguez trying to dink it over the top. Good work from Richards. Can't keep it in play. Throwing coming up for RGV. But just completely given away by Chuy Rodriguez. A bit overzealous trying to get the party started again for the restart.
Right before that throw, I was going to make the comment that RGV needs to take care of the ball when they have it, especially in the attacking third. And then you see Enriquez just throw the ball right to the other team. Those are the moments when if they have possession in the attacking third, it's not happening very often. So when they get those moments, they have to make the most of them.
Perea finding Enriquez. Gill. Padilla. Much more patient from RGV. Is there a final product in store? It's a great ball through. A team couldn't get there. Oh, it was loose right in front. Reno really lucky to come away unscathed. Now a long-range effort. Certainly had the power behind it. Not necessarily the placement from Omar Ontiveros, but that was at least 45 yards out.
I don't know if Monday a team was surprised that this ball came across, but it is a really nice ball played in from Padilla. It skips over two Reno defenders. It looks like a team just was not expecting that to drop at his feet. That was a beautiful ball played in, right where it needed to go, and it helped that it was missed by two Reno players. But for RGV, that's one of the moments that they have to capitalize. They did a good job getting it wide. Padilla played a great ball, and they had numbers in the box, which was a plus.
Todd Wharton can bring it down. Here's Luis Gill. Dispossessed from behind. But again, RGV clamping down on Reno, not allowing them to play out of the back. There's claims for a handball not given by Alejandro Mariscal. Good work from Gill and Todd Wharton. You've seen RGV trying to go right down the gut of this Reno defense. As Jerson Echeverri pleading his team to keep moving forward. Quintanilla, long-range effort, blocked before it could even get anywhere close to Matt Bersano. Brian Brown. A few runners with him. Brown over for Openo. Openo bending it across. Richards, great ball through, and Corti can just see it out of play.
The difference in what we're seeing between the Reno attack and RGV is they're both getting numbers forward, both serving balls in, but when that ball comes across, Laquan knows that it's behind him, so it goes wide to Openo. He plays it in. Laquan knows it's behind him, and with his body, he's trying to play it back to Brian Brown. He's not trying to somehow make a goal come across with his body positioned away from goal. He's aware of where he needs to play that ball. And the second one is all the way back in. It's a good look, but there's no player sneaking in on that far post. But that's the difference in what we're seeing from Reno and RGV. RGV is settling for chances, and if they're anywhere in the box, they're assuming that's the only chance is to shoot it and to look on frame, when sometimes the better option is to lay it off to a player behind who has a much better body positioning going towards goal.
But how about the dummy 1-2? I don't think I've ever seen that before.
So creative.
Openo really has all the tricks up his sleeve as this one is kept in play, or at least it appeared so. Flag now goes up. Goal kick coming for Bersano. USL's official Twitter feed keeps you up to date with the news, live game updates, and highlights from around the league 24/7. Follow at USL on Twitter. Into the 89th minute, rapidly approaching the 90th. Still waiting on the official word for stoppage here at HEB Park. Perea. Gill. Kiffey almost gave it away. Monday a team in hot pursuit. And a foul against a team. Van Ewijk. Lacroix finding Brian Brown. Brown slipping through. Blocked by Ontiveros. Reno wanted the handball. Perea finding Quintanilla. Quintanilla on the move. Cutting it back to his left. And slips on the surface here at HEB. Not the first time a player has done that today. Here's Openo, getting around Adams. Referee says play on. Space becoming more and more prevalent in this one as tired legs are of an abundance. Chip through, Quintanilla won't be able to get there, and Bersano will collect it easily for Reno. 3 minutes of stoppage time added on to this one.
When the game stretches out, granted, of course it stretches out at this moment. These teams are tired, just trying to take their chances, but that's when RGV is able to establish a run of play. It's when they're able to get numbers forward. And it's good to see so late in this game when they win the ball in the midfield that they still have players that are committed and willing to get forward when it is hard to do.
A team back for Gill, back for a team. Sliding challenge right at the last. Referee not interested. Here's Lacroix on the other end. Hospital ball in the middle of the park. Chuy Enriquez almost cut it out. Monday a team bit shaken up after that play. Good pass from Connor Donovan. Quintanilla got around Carroll, but couldn't get around Partida. As we're into the 93rd minute of 3 minutes of stoppage time. Ontiveros brings it down. Enriquez can't get there. Adams a little late on the challenge. Brown goes directly through Adams. Catches a foul as well. And Ian Russell just telling his team to slow it down right now, as this could very well be the last opportunity of the match. Don't want to send too many numbers forward though, because it is up to Alejandro Mariscalas to when the final whistle blows. Openo. And that's going to do it. Full time from HEB Park, as Reno and RGV will have to settle for a point apiece. No goals to be shown. Nothing to separate these two sides. Morgan Conklin, your thoughts?
That was a hard-earned point for both sides. You can just see both teams are drained. There were moments when RGV had glimpses of being so strong. It was not consistent enough. Reno found their momentum, and they are dangerous. If they can finish chances, they're going to be tough to stop.
Reno 7 points in their last 3. RGV 4 points in their last 2. Post game coming up. 90 minutes complete here at HEB Park. It was Kids Day, and unfortunately the kids did not get to see any breakthroughs. 0-0 is the final score after 90 minutes. RGV and Reno could not find the back of the net, as the two Western Conference sides will need to settle for a point apiece. Tyler Terrence along with Morgan Conklin, glad to have had you with us for this morning affair. And RGV and Reno unable to find the back of the net. Opportunities, wouldn't necessarily say plentiful, but both teams had their opportunities to score.
They had their chances, you're right, and what we saw a lot of was the build-up from the middle and then sprayed wide, or combinations right in the middle. We saw it a lot from both teams, but it wasn't consistent enough around most of the game. One of the best chances, though, Quintanilla sprays this ball centrally into Zaldivar. A beautiful pass split in there, but he rushes the shot, doesn't get good connection trying to look on frame. But Reno continued to find that center of the park. They found it wide to Hopino, who was so active today, creating chances for his team. But one of the biggest changes was when Brian Brown came in. He was just that big forward, but he was so active, laying the ball off, getting back, putting this RGV backline under pressure.
Well, Nico Corti getting his second clean sheet in a row and second clean sheet of his professional career. A couple of big saves in the second half, and then this was the best chance of the game.
I still don't know how out wide Quintanilla is so open, but he was able to get him behind, and then just a couple moments later, looked for the shot himself. But Reno, they had a lot of good chances on set pieces close to goal.
Hopino trying to send this one in, but Connor Donovan and Omar Ontiveros were on point the entire game in that central defensive pairing. More trouble in and around the area for Nico Corti, as that was a neat little play from Antoine Hopino. This one not touched home by anybody from Reno. And then this was one of the final opportunities of the game that ended up coming to nothing, as Quintanilla would slip on the surface here at HEB. Final stats from these final 90 minutes, and Morgan, shots for both teams, not a ton on target for RGV. They really didn't make Matt Persano work.
They didn't make him do much at all, honestly. They had chances, but none of them were really good opportunities. But just looking at this stat sheet, this is pretty much what we saw coming in. If you looked at the two offenses compared to one another, we pretty much saw it even. And that's exactly the game that we got today. But Reno, so dangerous going forward, and combining the movement that they bring, the players that they have, and how dynamic they are. 5 shots on target for 13 shots. I think they had even more chances created around box, but we're not going to see that on a score sheet.
Well, RGV get a draw today, and their next match will be a week from today. And that's going to be against Juan Pablo Cafa and the Fresno FC Foxes, Wednesday, May 9th at 7:30 Central Time. Just a tad later of a start than we had today at 10:30 a.m. local time. Well, wasn't necessarily the most eventful day at HEB, but the kids who were able to make their way out to the park had a terrific time and certainly provided some energy here in what was a very early start. 0-0 is the final score from Edinburgh, Texas. For my broadcast partner, Morgan Conklin, and our entire crew, I'm Tyler Terrence, saying so long for now. The final score, Rio Grande Valley FC 0, Reno 1868 FC 0. We'll talk to you soon.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.